Hey everybody, welcome back to the Vegas Beat. I'm Tony George from DocSports, the signs over there, it's ass backwards. And a special guest today, a new member to the family, a guy I've met a couple of times out in Vegas. He goes by the name of Detroit Lenny. As you can see, we're AL Central rivals. You know, I wore this hat knowing he was coming on, and of course I flip on the camera, and there he is in his Tigers gear. But anyway, welcome to the fold, Lenny.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, I'm a huge Tiger fan, living in Vegas now, last 15 or so years of my life, but born and raised in the city. Tigers, Wings, Lions, Pistons. I bleed it all. And trust me, I've bled it all. It's been some lean years in some being a Detroit sports fan for sure. But Tigers look good. Your Royals look good. I'm not even gonna good. No. I don't want no smoke. The Royals look good. It's a long baseball season. I'm excited. Tigers got off to a hottest start I could have ever asked for, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, people have noticed over DocSports.com, we've been around 53 years. I've been here since 2016. I've been here almost 8 years, but nonetheless, very rarely are there changes at Docs in the personnel department, so to speak, even especially behind the scenes. We kind of have the secret sauce out there in the handicapping world where, you know, we've just figured out how to take, you know, the number one thing when you talk to Wade, who owns the company, he always stresses, and I knew Wade's dad before Wade took over. The original Doc, Maury Mosman, used to do my radio show when I first got started in the business. In the radio business, at least. And then I got to know Wade. And of course, Maury left us, I believe, around 2016, unfortunately. But Wade's philosophy has always been user experience and consistency and seeing the same faces and being able to trust those faces. Now, recently, over the past 3 or 4 years, we've added some people to the website. Some young guns in Nick and Griff, and most recently, Craig Trapp. Now, we don't talk about our competitors, but I have to in this case because Craig was at a place that I used to be at, Picks and Parlays. And Craig came over from there. I've known Craig for going on 20 years. Great guy. And of course, I know that you were associated, and people out there that may notice you here, you were at Picks and Parlays until about a week ago. And your role at Doc Sports, because people are going to see you on the YouTube channel, kind of explain your role here.
I was over there. Now I'm here. It is what it is. I mean, my role here is content. I'm just here to bring you as much content as possible and to make that user experience that you mentioned as good as possible, honestly. And I'll tell you what, these guys at Docs, I'll say this: I've known everybody in this business kind of knows everybody. It's not as big a widespread throughout the. You watch a show on another channel here or there, everybody knows everybody. And I've known some people over here for a while, and it's not a it's a tough egg to crack to get into here, and I appreciate the opportunity to be. I'm telling you, I'm doing video with legends, folks. I mean, I talk a lot of game and a lot of smack talk to this guy, but literally living legend on video when it comes to this business. People like Craig Trapp, you mentioned. I've worked with a lot of living legends, mutual friends of ours, Sean Higgs. Mutual friends. Shout out to him. I mean, just living legends, literally in the business. I mean, I'm 52 years old. I've been around the block a few times. I've been known to play some money on some games here and there. If you catch my drift, before everything was legal in different spots and this and that. And to be somebody who's watched guys like you for years, and now to be talking with you about a baseball game. Like the first time we met, we're just a couple guys sitting at the end of the bar shooting the crap about this guy and hitting a home run, and I got money on this game or what, whatever. And just it's awesome to be around guys like Scott Spreitzer. I told him when I first met him, I'm like, man, I can't believe we're going to share pizza. Like, I've been watching you for years, here we are talking about again, shooting the shit over pizza and whatever. And the guys over here at Docs have been nothing but warm and welcoming to me. I really feel like it's a fraternity of a family oriented first and foremost. You've met my wife. We went to dinner. Like, I mean, it's a thing over here, and I'm happy to be a part of it because I'm ready. Like, and I love the healthy competitiveness. I love like you mentioned, you see a face on Docs, it should be a trusting face. And I'm glad to be a part of that. And I hope to be a bigger part with stuff like this, doing shows with Tony George, bringing to you some different stuff, different shows, Docs Daily, helping out over there. Just a lot more content is what I'm here to do. So,
well, it's interesting, it's the information age nowadays. Yeah. And, Docs is, like you said, old school. I've been in this business 33 years. Been on national radio, spent 8 years in Vegas, just kind of moved back here. I split some time, but majority of my time, I've decided recently I was going to go 50-50. But the majority of my time, I like the lifestyle in the Midwest. There's nothing like 100%. Home. Michigan, where you grew up, if you had a choice, you're going to die in the desert, you're going to die back home. Yeah, I'm going to die back
home.
I'm
going home. And yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm from Michigan. I'm just staying in Vegas. Yeah. I've been staying in Vegas for 15 years. I met my wife in Vegas. We have a family, happy home, all of that. We got a blended family. We're the dysfunctional Brady bunch. I call people, but home is home. Yep. You let me put my feet in a lake. I want to go on a lake. I want to put my feet in a lake, have a cold beer on an overly humid day, and bitch and moan about mosquitoes. Okay, that's what I want to do.
Yeah,
Instead, I'm gonna die if I go to my mailbox in the desert without sandals on because my feet I'm gonna be crucified. So I mean, it is what it is. But
well, it's nice here. Being 33 years, I've bounced around. I've been at every major website there is, Vegas Insider covers, Vegas Experts. I can go, and I was at the Pick Some Parlays there with Craig Trapp and Mitch Wilson when he ran it. And I just, and then on the radio, I started out at a local station, then got syndicated, then went national. And then started getting TV spots on national networks and doing a lot of national stuff. And one thing about this business, for anybody thinking about getting in it, I can tell you, up until basically the time I started with Docs and the family environment that's created here amongst the handicappers, we're all competitors. We compete with each other because we're trying to best each other, but we're not wishing anybody any ill will at the same time. There's not any conspiracy here to rip people off of their money. It's just you're getting every guy's best shot. And we're all independent of each other. But all those years in the radio and media business and all those years and all these different handicapping areas, pregame and all the places I've been, the one thing about it is in this marketplace, it's really hard to tell the sharks from the guppies. It's a very difficult kind of backstabbing, nasty business. You have to have your head on a swivel. And when you achieve success, there's a lot of egos out there inside the business that don't applaud when you win.
Right.
or you achieve something, when at the end of the day, I always felt like I tried to better the business. I was doing sports betting on the radio on a national level, even had my own show on Sirius for 8 years before VEASAN and Sports
Right.
Grid was even a brainchild. But I had a way of doing it that wasn't, call 1-800 can't lose, and we're just going to figure out a way to screw you out of money.
Right.
What's it going to be? Visa, MasterCard, American Express. You can run down the Western Union office and send me 900 numbers, all that crap. And the nice thing about Docs is Docs feels like home for a couple of Midwestern guys like me and you. Scott Spritzer's an Omaha boy. Of course, he left for fortunes in Vegas when he was 18 years old. Scott's story is amazing, how he was on Pro Line with Jim Feist and Dave Koken and Larry Ness and White and all those guys. I used to watch him on TV back in Lincoln, and now I'm working with him, and I've done shows with him, and all kinds of stuff. And but Doc's Sports is one of the options out there. There's more than one option, and there's more nowadays. There's more than one option that's legitimate. But there's a couple of big boys in the tall wheat taking a piss, and Doc's is one of them. and it's a good place to park yourself. That's for sure. And it's nice to see them in the information age step up their game a little bit. We've had this YouTube channel. Mainly it was Indian Cowboy and me for a long time are the only ones doing videos.
Right.
When I first came here, I think he was the only one doing a video. And, we had 6,000 or 7,000 subscribers, and I brought in a lot of interest from the national radio following I had on Sirius, and that bumped up to 20,000, in the first year and a half I was here. And now we're approaching 60,000, and we're looking to, you'll see graphics now on all the videos up front, the thumbnails, the frequency of more free plays and all those things. And Craig Trapp kind of came in to kind of set that up. And then you're here to touch that up, and you're seeing more combination shows. Now you won't be selling picks on the website, but you'll be giving out a lot of them.
Yep, absolutely. Listen, and don't take anything I say about the Tigers take it with a grain of salt, because I bet the Tigers 162 times a year. Okay, and so I mean, it is what it is. It just is what it is with me, and it's been that way since. I've always said this. Anybody that's ever watched me on a show, you talk about this guy. It's funny, your name's. This has nothing to do with Tony. There used to be a guy in our neighborhood called 3-Finger Tony, and he had 3 fingers on one hand, and he might have taken some action here and there with some wagers in the neighborhood. And, I'm like, I might have been betting the Tigers since me and 3-Finger Tony go back, so when I had to ride my bike over to his house to put my lunch money on the Tiger, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Sweet Lou, back in the day, rest in peace. Chet Lemon just passed away this last.
Yeah, I saw that. Ago.
Yeah. Yep. He was the first jersey I ever owned. Chet Lemon was. I think I was like 10, 11 years oldish. First jersey I ever had, Chet Lemon, and I wore that. Man, I got my money's worth out of that bad boy. I wore the hell out of that for probably too many summers. But yeah, I'll be giving out some picks with the Premium Plus members on YouTube. You'll be getting, you'll see me a lot on that. You'll see me hosting a lot of shows. We're going to do a lot more content for free pick wise. Talk about more content like horse racing stuff, Preakness stuff coming up this weekend. We did some stuff on the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
We're going to try and do some more UFC stuff content, not just the regular grinded out MLB stuff more. I'm trying to think of others. WNBA. That's what I was trying to think of. We talked about WNBA and Doc's Daily yesterday. We got a lot of handicappers that do some WNBA stuff. So I'm looking for some content for that, and just trying to bring your guys' lovely personalities just out onto the video screen here, so everybody can get a taste of of what you guys bring, because I'll tell you what it is like. It's old school, been around 53 years, like you said. Docs has been around a long time, and it's old school in a way, but yet trying to be new age in the same way.
Yeah.
So I applaud that, because I'm happy to be on board to kind of spearhead that and be a part of that, because this stuff's going to be great, man.
Yeah, getting involved in viewers and capturing viewers' attention and engaging a viewer, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of talent, up front in the camera and behind the camera as well. It's a team effort. What do you do with really good content? How do we get it out there more? Where do we put it? Who can make it look a little better? That's
Right.
and that's why I think Doc's Wade brought you in, and I'm happy to see it grow, and give the viewers an insight in not only to access more free content, but get to know the handicappers a little better as well. That's for sure. And
I'm a Midwest guy like you, and Midwest kind of mentality is, I mean, would I buy something from that guy? I mean, in all reality, I'm going to buy something from somebody I like, or, you know what I mean? From somebody that I can relate to, that I trust. You should not just see some guy's stats on Twitter one day and send him your Visa card. You should not do that, folks. You should not do that. You put your hard-earned money into something that is proven 50 plus years. I mean, it's just a fact. So, there's no AI here. It's actual real people that will have real opinions on real things that are happening. And it'll be great when me and him talk Chiefs Lions. It'll be great content, but we'll probably won't be friends on week 6 of the NFL Sunday Night Football game, which I believe is what I'm hearing on Lions Twitter is week 6-ish. It'll be the Sunday night primetime game will be Chiefs Lions in Arrowhead, which I
well, last time you were in here, you walked out with a win.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, as a diehard Lions fan, I mean, I've seen my Tigers win the World Series. It's been a long time. I was like 13, 1984, 85, but I've seen the Wings, I've seen the Pistons, all that. Never seen the Lions do nothing, right?
Right.
And we want to be the Chiefs. I have no shame in my game. We wanted to beat you in your house because you are the best. And you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And we laid an egg when it came to Washington in front of the national audience, but whatever.
Yep. That defense hurt you down the stretch. You were missing too many pieces of the puzzle defensively last year. How do you think so we'll just bring this up. Before I bring that up, the WNBA you just mentioned, Tim Fines has been my capper for the last 4 years. Actually, I haven't told you this yet. I'll just tell you on the air. I want to tape a show tomorrow for a future show for the WNBA if we have time, if not Friday, but either Thursday or Friday, we'll figure that out. I had mentioned that the other day on Doc's Daily, but
I'm in. We'll figure it out afterwards.
20-minute preview. We'll give you some season win totals and division winner totals for free as we gear up for the season. But getting back to football for a minute, some interesting developments this week. Derek Carr stepped away from the limelight. He retired, so that leaves the New Orleans Saints heavily chalked to the under 5.5 wins at -140 now. But curious to know what you think about the exodus of your offensive coordinator and how that affects your team this year as he goes and coaches the Chicago Bears, who many people thought the Bears had a crappy draft. Luther Burden is a hell of a player. They did a lot of things they needed to do offensively to make themselves better, including protect the quarterback. In your division, the Vikings are going to go with J.J. McCarthy. They let Darnold go, but they kept Aaron Jones, and they've got probably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL on their team. And, of course, the Packers are a very good football team and loaded. with a good quarterback. They made some off-season trades that were interesting, and they're going to help themselves out defensively. So how do you think you're going to stack up? And the other thing is, what are you going to do offensively now?
Well, I'll say this first thing about Ben Johnson. That hurt. It hurt.
Yep,
I
big
felt
time.
like I lost my first love. I mean, that hurt. That hurt me for a couple days. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like us losing Spagnola.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and you lost Spagnola, that's like losing a family member.
Yeah, it did. There might have been a bottle of Crown involved and some emotions, but whatever. I got through it, and I'll get through that breakup. I'll get through this breakup the same way I did the first one. So I'm hoping that it just ends up being, he's a product of Dan Campbell, and maybe just kind of spills out. But I'm more worried, honestly, about losing Aaron Glenn. I think he was a defensive genius, doing what we could do with what little we did have. With losing Hutchinson early in that year, that really hurt. And still have a question on the end, the other end of that, with us. I'm hoping they go out and get the Bengals Trey Hendrickson. I hope they bookend him with Aiden Hutchinson, but
that'd be a deadly combination.
Absolutely. I also like their draft.
But bear in mind, too, Glenn did such a good job that people didn't notice that when you got to postseason, you were playing basically 7 or 8 guys at starting positions on defense that you didn't have starting at the beginning of the year. That's how decimated they were defensively.
Yeah, we were stretched really, really thin. I do like the Lions draft. It wasn't horrible, but I'll say this: the Bears will be a problem. I'll be the first to admit this. Yeah. It is always and forever. This is where you look away, kid. It's F the Bears. Okay. Put that on my tombstone. It is forever and always F the Bears. Okay. So, I mean, the Packers, I think, are kind of mediocre, to be honest with you. I think they're going to be a mediocre-ish team. I'm not worried about JJ McCarthy. I watched him play football in college at Michigan. I'm not worried about him. Justin Jefferson will always be a problem, but I think the Vikings will do Vikings things to themselves. We kind of own Green Bay. I heard a rumor on Lions Twitter that we would open the season in Green Bay. That's a blessing for Lions fans, because you're going to open the season in Green Bay with no weather. Week 1.
Right. Perfect.
We don't have to play them week 16 in a blizzard. We go to in the Lambeau, play them early, get it out of the way. I want to get it out of the way. But the Bears, I'm not a believer in Caleb Williams. I'm just not. I don't want to be a Bears hater, but I don't think he's going to pan out. Other than that, I think they have a pretty solid team, a young team. I think Ben Johnson could be dangerous there, but I also think he'd believe in a little bit of his hype. Maybe reading a little bit too much of his headlines. Aaron Glenn, I think, was the better coordinator.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked about this last year on the Gridiron Six-Pack, which will be back this August. Myself and Griff Murphy. Griff Murphy will be back on the Vegas beat, and him and Lenny are going to split time on the Vegas beat this year, moving forward, along with some other special guests. But we talked about the first-round quarterback draft picks, Jaden Daniels, and then, of course, Caleb Williams. Mm-hmm. And I found it where I can't – you're comparing apples to oranges, whether he was worthy of the first pick in the draft or not being worthy based on what you saw in Daniels out of the Commanders, because – the Commanders, once they knew they took him, they built the team around him for him. And he had Cliff Kingsbury, and he had, Dan Quinn, a head coach. And they put veterans like Zach Ertz in there around him. He had talent around him, and he had an offensive line.
Right.
On top of that, he's a really talented cat. I think Williams also is a talented cat, but he was afforded none of those luxuries at Chicago last year, including Eberflus, who was a complete jerk off, a horrible head coach. Maybe he's a good coordinator, I don't know. but he wasn't a good head coach. He didn't have good associate coaches around him in that entire system. The cupboards needed to be cleaned out, which they've done. Bears ownership has never been that smart, but with putting together personnel. But I think they've got more pieces around him in Chicago this year that we get a better feel for where he's at and maybe what he could be capable of. We're gonna, Justin Fields, he didn't even have a fair shake there.
Yeah.
They had to put the game on him. I thought Justin Fields, in the wake of having nothing to work with, showed himself better than what Williams has so far.
Fair.
If you look at it that way. And but I think the jury, you're more convinced than I am that he might be a bust. Right now, I just think he got dealt, a shitty hand.
It's not a great situation in Chicago at all.
Daniels had 2 aces, he had 2 deuces, and they flopped. Yeah. They flopped 2 aces on the,
right.
when they did the flop, and he had the better hand and he won. And he did. Obviously, how good he is. You guys lost to him in the postseason.
Yeah,
but he's a really, and he may be a super, super, really good player. He may be the next Patrick Mahomes type guy. I mean, he has those type of moves, and his head is in the right place, which that's over 50% of the battle with these young quarterbacks that come out. Where's their head at? How can they handle situations? And I didn't think Williams handled it all that well. But then again, he just didn't have the right leadership around him, where I think Daniels had the right leadership around him, and he was able to process, learn from his mistakes quicker, learn how to have more of a NFL football mentality, because, you're not playing at LSU anymore, and you're sure as hell ain't playing at USC anymore. Right. I always like that Bill Parcells mic'd up thing on the NFL Network when he shows him disgruntled on the sidelines, and during a game, he walks up to one of his defensive linemen, grabs him by the shoulder. He says, "You see that guy out there that you're playing right now?" He goes, "This ain't Michigan State. That's a Philadelphia Eagle you're playing." He goes, "Get your head out of your ass and play some ball." It's different when you get to this level.
I'll say this. I think Ben Johnson, I feel like Ben Johnson's always wanted to run this type of offense. DeAndre Swift as running back, Caleb Williams, run it, get out of the pocket. He's going to make some moves. He's going to make some people look really dumb on the football field, for sure. But I also think Jaden Daniels can do that, but I think his football IQ is so much higher. That was one of my favorite futures last year, was him as Rookie of the Year. I think he was I was really high on him coming out of the draft. I think he's going to be a beast in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think in 3 years, we'll be seeing Caleb Williams on a different NFL franchise to get a fresh, right, a new outlook kind of thing. Right. And I think the Bears just do Bears stuff. But again, I can't stand the Bears. I can't stand the Bears. I can eat cheese with a Packer fan. I can drink with a Viking. I can't do nothing with a Bear but kill it and skin it. That's all I can do.
Well, I guess you and Griffin Murphy aren't going to be breaking bread anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, we've already talked about the football season's going to be just it's going to be brutal. And I am just back to that Ben Johnson, though. In the Lions offense, he publicly voiced his frustration about having to run the ball so much.
Right.
And Dan Campbell wanting him to just ground and pound the ball with Gibbs and Montgomery behind there and Jared Goff can't lose a game if you don't put the game in his hands. And so he was never, he can't lose you a game. So Jared Goff, he looks like an all-pro great quarterback because he's not having to scramble. He's not having to do that. So Ben Johnson's going to have exactly what he wants. He wants a mobile quarterback that can get out of the pocket and run and do things. That's exactly what Caleb Williams is going to do. I don't see DJ Moore being down there at the other end making a difference.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you for sure. Say, we'll switch gears now quickly and let everybody go. He's Detroit Lenny. And tell everybody what your Twitter is real quick, and we're going to switch gears to the NBA real quick.
Yep, at Detroit_Lenny. You can find me on Twitter. Look me up. I'm there. I'm talking all kinds of smack about Tiger baseball right now. So
I know I enjoy your tweets, so be sure to give him a follow. So last night, and I saved this text. Polly Howard from VEASAN put this out. I'm a VEASAN fan. Obviously, I've appeared on that network numerous times.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was doing a show the first time I met you. I was down there doing a show with Sean, and Sean Higgs was down there, and then that's when I met you.
Or at the D or somewhere. Yeah, down off Fremont. Yeah, I think so.
I think I was over at the D at Bar Canada, actually.
Yep. You're right.
That was a couple of years ago when I first met you. Cavs were the third team in history to win 64-plus games and not get out of the second round. Now, you could say and make excuses for the Cavaliers in the postseason by saying that, Hunter and Garland and Mobley were out for the first couple of games. And then Donovan Mitchell did not play last night. And this was the best team in basketball all year long. You could argue Oklahoma City with them, but that argument is 1 and 1A. I mean, they're very similar, very close. Both dominating basketball teams all year long, consistently dominating, even more so than Boston. We'll talk about them in a minute. But I thought from the get-go that the Indiana Pacers was a better team in that series starting game one. They just outplayed them and outcoached them. I know, they met with a bad fate last night, but Indiana was just a better team.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, rolling into tonight's action, life begins without Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics at the worst possible time ever, much like the Golden State Warriors. Life begins without Steph Curry at the worst possible time ever. This is like losing Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
3 days before the Super Bowl when he tweaked his Achilles in practice and he can't go.
Yep.
I mean, you're kind of effed. So I'm wondering, do the Celtics, do they meet with the same fate tonight? And I ask you this because even with Tatum having 42 the other night, they were getting throttled. Yeah. And before he went down, and it looks to me like from game one of this series, like the Indiana-Cleveland series, it looks to me like New York's a better team.
I think New York is the better team. I right now, just momentum 100%. Yeah, right now. I mean, me personally, I'm going to take that Knicks-Celtics game. I'm going to probably try and live bet it and get on both sides with plus money or something like that.
I'll do that too, yeah.
But I mean, I'm a fade the injury report kind of guy. I think now is the goal. I mean, 11 points. I don't care about stats this year. I get it. But 11 points in the NBA in a playoff game. Man. I mean, I know I sound like what's his name? Playoffs? Yes, playoffs. I gotta take the points there. I gotta feel like I also kind of like the over there in that game, but I don't know. I mean, NBA for me is most of the season is no betting allowed. I'm not big on the NBA. Like me and the NBA just don't get along. Yeah. It is what it is.
I got my ass handed to me. I got my ass handed to me last night. I've been doing pretty good. Four of my last 6. I said I had a 7 unit on Doc's Daily Estate. Mm-hmm. Well, I had Oklahoma City first half line, and they were averaging their last 3 games. They were averaging 61 points in the first half, and Denver 43.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I was shocked at how they came out and just were lethargic, and then they came back, end up winning it, and this, that, and the other. But I think this game tonight between Minnesota and Golden State, the thing that worries me about taking, and I stayed away from it. I have an angle in the first game over at DocSports.com. But it seems to me like, especially in the last game, Golden State and their players could not figure out what their role was supposed to be.
Nobody knew what to do.
Is Jimmy Butler? Am I a scorer? Am I a point guard? Buddy
Who's in
Hield,
charge?
should I hang around the 3-point line where I'm effective and shoot it, or go inside and be a piece of shit because I can't figure it out to do anything? Draymond Green makes one basket one game. Next thing, he's a scoring machine. I mean, what is our role? And that's very difficult to try and figure out without your best player on the floor. I'm surprised that Steve Kerr did not have them coached up better, knowing Curry wasn't going to play, and trying to clearly define what their roles should be, play to their strengths, slow down the pace, don't get in a running match with them, all things of which they didn't do. And I'm not as smart as Steve Kerr. I'd be making $6 million a year coaching the NBA. Right. But that's a real tough act to take on the road against Minnesota, dude.
I agree. In a Minnesota team that is just ready to roll. I mean, they are ready to go. And Golden State, I just think they seem like they don't know, like you mentioned, no role. They don't know what they're supposed to do. They're missing their field general, their on-court presence of who's dictating where, running the pieces, and now you got somebody else coming in that is not in that normally in that role. They don't know. They look, I agree with you. Steve Kerr, I would imagine he would have had them look coached up a little bit better, but maybe tonight is that night that he's learned from that mistake. If anybody's going to be that guy, I think he's a great coach. I think if anybody's going to learn from that mistake, it's going to be him. Maybe he gets them in the groove tonight. I just got to think 10.5, 11 points. I mean, have a little respect, don't get blown out. Show a little respect there. I don't know, but in Minnesota scares the hell out of me too.
Speaking of elimination games like this one in New York tonight, the Vegas Golden Knights down at the Fortress tonight. Dude, Edmonton just put a can of whoop ass on them in the last, took them out of it early, and Vegas never recovered. Now, interesting game here tonight. Vegas was minus 130 last I saw. I was looking at my live lines here. I noticed that New York went up to 5 from 4.5 earlier this morning, but Vegas sitting around. Have I got this on the game? Yeah, I do. But boy, there's a lot of green and red on this board. Now, minus 130 still. Edmonton plus 110. You see any value there with Edmonton? You think they can get it done tonight? Or, boy, Vegas only lost 11 games at home all year.
Yeah, I'll say this. Our shout out to our guy over in customer service. This is where you look away, my friend. I just got here.
I know.
I want to be
friends. I already texted him, go Knights, go.
I want to be friends.
I know he's got the tickets because Wade's out of town.
Yeah, and I'm not going. So, I mean, I'll just say this. I want to be friends. I think we could hang out and all that, but I don't see them coming away today with this. I just think Edmonton's on a different level. I really like that other game too, the Panthers and the Leafs. I think the Leafs are, I can't believe I say this every year, but I think they're different this year. I do. I think they got the monkey off the back that first series, and I think they're going to rout Florida tonight.
I didn't put it out, but I did bet $100 on them just for shits and giggles this morning. I couldn't pass up I couldn't pass up the plus 120.
No, you really, I mean, how can you? But at home,
there's question marks in both these games. I have a 3-unit play in the Knights game. Because I'm saying go Knights go doesn't mean I have money on them, by the way. But I'm a Vegas Knight fan.
Fair, I understand.
Huge fan, actually. That's what I miss more about Vegas than almost anything, is going to the Knights games and being around the sports bar scene and the watch parties down at Circus Stadium Swim during the playoffs. You know, that's the only time that Vegas feels like a sense of community. Other than that, it's very disjointed. You know,
I'll tell you what, the city has rallied around having a hockey team, the Aces, the WNBA team, stuff like that. I mean, they've won championships. It didn't hurt that the Stanley Cup was won here. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I was there for one of the games.
Community ran around that. But that series, the Knights and the Oilers, come down to goaltending for me. And Aiden Hill just hasn't. He's not the Aiden. Like when you want to win a Stanley Cup, you need a goaltender that just goes on a run. They call it standing on his head, and he just has a moment in time for a couple-week period where he's a brick wall for the 99% of the time. And that's how you win a Stanley Cup. It just happens like that.
Yeah, remember Skinner went into LA, both games in LA in that first round. Hell, he was terrible, and he got benched.
Yep. Exactly. He's a head case.
All of a sudden, he's the freaking greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't get it.
He's a head case for sure. Like he is a head case. I just don't think I don't think Vegas has it in him. Aiden Hill hasn't shown me anything all playoffs that give me the impression that he's a brick wall and he can stop a bunch. That's what his totals at 6.5 in the over.
Yeah,
it's high, but I don't hate it. I don't. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think Edmonton gets 5 on him tonight.
There you go, folks. Well, just some thoughts with Detroit Lenny, the new member at DocSports.com behind the scene. Get over to DocSports.com. Obviously, we always promote it, but we have a free $60 for anybody that's never been a member of Docs. Come over and see what family means. Family is all about people who care about you. And we'll park $60 in a new account. Comes with a profit guarantee and 0 hassles. And Lenny, you'll be seeing a lot of Lenny on the YouTube channel. You know all the pretty stuff behind the scenes he's doing. And Lenny, I appreciate you coming on. Well, and we'll have you on. You'll be a every other week type guy here on the show. Absolutely. And we'll have a lot of fun. Definitely week 6 of the NFL season. You won't be on the show.
That's fair. I appreciate that. I'd rather be on the week after anyway.
There you go.
That's how much faith I got.
But be sure and catch Lenny on a lot of the shows here on Doc's YouTube channel. Thumbs up, subscribe, so you're always notified when any of these new and upcoming exciting shows are going to be on our network here for DocSports.com. I'm Tony George. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Take care, guys.